So maybe three things as objectives and on top of my mind to start with, maybe, which is because again it's pointed to all the professionals across entry level, mid level engineers, and then coming to maybe leaders. I won't call managers, or even managers who are at their brink of maybe entering or even at the last phase of their career, who might be um, maybe disturbed with a lot of things which is going around right now. First part of it is the global geopolitical turmoil which is happening with Trump getting in and disrupting a lot of things. I don't know how much is it is going to have an impact, but what I really see is the world order is maybe changing. But again, is it going to have an impact? No one knows. Second part of it is about the disruption of AI itself. I am seeing it in the day to day, but I am more seeing it at an individual level. But I don't really see an infrastructure evolving there. But yeah, it could be another threat to the maybe careers itself, right? How it is evolved for a lot of us. Third part is about ageism, which is people aging, not upskilling or meeting the expectations of what organization might be needing, right? So these are the three core areas where maybe we can discuss. We can
Yeah,
give your views, and then I can
sure.
also come with my thoughts of it. Yep. So, what do you think? The first part of geopolitical.
Yeah, it's a very, I think if you look at Indian IT, we are speaking mostly in IT
Yeah,
context, right?
very
Because
much.
obviously the tariffs is going to impact other sectors like manufacturing and agriculture and all those stuff.
Even before that,
Um,
yeah, tariff is one part.
mhm.
Even the way, let's say, because what I realized is after everything, once Trump came in, big thing what I'm seeing is the world order as such. We are seeing, we were calling ourselves maybe the third largest economy, superpower, and everything. But then what I'm really seeing is that this one country is what is dictating the whole region across, right? That they are dictating maybe even let's say how uh, Zelensky was treated when he was in the Oval Office. The
And that has
same,
always been the case. I
yeah.
think it's you can choose to accept it or deny it, but definitely I think still US constitutes for, I mean, to India as well. US constitutes 70% of all our IT outsourcing. Right,
Mm,
it's out of the 200 odd billion dollars that India actually made in revenue in 2024. 70% for the US, and it's like that even for China or any other, for Vietnam or any other country which is reliant on US. Obviously, US is going to be dictating the flow of or the world order in many ways. And even before, they used to think that they used to always. I think one thing about US is that they are always going to be in that position where they think they can dictate.
is that
And
the reality or is it not?
well, in some cases, it is the reality. For example, if they decide that the IT outsourcing, if they actually decide they go to WTO, right now India is pretty much protected by this
Mm,
tariff. At least the Indian IT industry is protected because we have the GATS agreement, right? And WTO obviously specifies that the agreement we have is specifies that we don't need to pay taxes, or we are not really under the tariffs
mm,
when it comes to IT outsourcing. But if tomorrow actually Trump decides that no, there has to be tax which is going to be paid by
mm.
the company which are outsourcing, then so be it. And obviously, we need to actually do something to really come out of such a situation. And I
Okay.
think it's real. I think in some cases, like I said, when it comes to dictating the economy of the world, I think US still maintains a pole position. Things might be changing in some ways. Some of the other countries might, like China, has always been a constant force, the counter force to US in many ways, right? For example, even in AI, US built OpenAI in a couple of years. Maybe China builds it in 6 to 8 months for a fraction of the cost. That's the power of China, right? But again, when it comes to the world order, I think China is very far from dictating it. It's going to be US for many years to come, I feel. And
Mm.
Like I said, you can accept it or deny it, but the impact is real. So you need to. We can only try to handle the situation better.
Yeah,
I don't think we can. No,
because it was an eye opener to me looking at all the news around, because I realized Germany does not have a military of its own. Europe
I think
is
NATO. NATO.
mostly,
There's only
yeah.
NATO for a lot of the European
So then
countries.
everyone is rethinking now. So that's the reason I said world order is changing. US is not in alignment with maybe NATO countries. It's more directly in a conflicting situation with China. Maybe that will adding some kind of advantage for India, but I don't know in what.
Yeah, it is very. I would say unless and until India suddenly overnight becomes a manufacturing leader, it's unlikely that we are going to reap the benefits of the trade war between US and China, because I mean, industrial revolution India has been lacking for many years. We are not, especially in the niche sectors, semiconductors, we are nowhere there.
Yeah.
We're not really building any reliable electronics which can be used across the globe. Automobiles, we are there to an extent. I think the Tatas and the Mahindra have started exporting to other countries as well, but it's far and it's like not really very structured, well structured, I would say, right?
Mm.
And even if you look at agriculture, there are very few products which are really exported to US. I think we probably are limited to probably mangoes and dairy, maybe specific dairy like ghee
Yeah.
and other products. So I think, it's going to be very difficult for India to, because there was no platform which was laid out to take at such an advantage, right? To take advantage of such a situation, there is no platform yet in India.
Mm.
So I don't think we can take very good advantage. I think we should probably stick to our core strengths, which is IT and IT outsourcing right now, and make sure that that doesn't get impacted.
Mm.
That I think if that gets impacted, and I think India is going to see it's going to be a larger impact. And I think the tariffs themselves, even though they are not going to directly impact IT outsourcing in India, it's going to have an indirect impact, because the US companies, like I said, which is US is 70% of India's market, India's IT market. And then if US decides to, most of the companies in US are now going to decide to cut down on spending
Mm.
in the short term. They're either going to cut down spending or they're going to calibrate their spending. So it means that because IT is not their only spend, right?
And why are they doing it?
Because of the tariffs, because
Oh, they
once
want to
tariffs,
recalibrate based on the tariff
yeah, because they IT is not
regulation.
the only spend for them, right?
Mm.
There's also supply chain. For example, if you look at huge supermarkets like Walmart, which has to now look at their whole supply chain, depending on which country they source from,
Mm.
and then actually they have to decide how much they really want to spend for IT. So obviously, in short term, there might be some issue in that,
Mm.
in demand, but I think medium term that should settle down. And I think, like I said, there might be some indirect impacts, and once they decide to calibrate their spend and diversify or consolidate the vendors, that's where I see that there could be some challenges for some of the Indian outsourcing companies.
Mm.
And other there are, on the other side, we also have problem with H1Bs, right?
Yeah.
The rejection rate of H1B has increased from 6% to 24%, and India constitutes to about 60 or 70% of the overall H1B visas which were being provided.
Mm.
So obviously, companies like Infosys or TCS or Wipros of India can't really now afford to send people for reasonable. Basically,
So it will be more number of rejections.
yeah. I mean, the rejections have increased already. The
Mm.
H1B rejections. It means they'll have to either drop the projects, right, or they have to probably hire somebody locally. And if they hire locally in US, it's not going to be really
Yeah.
affordable, right? It's not affordable for Indian IT companies to really hire people in the US and get the projects done.
So overall, that's the strategy too. That you are trying to get more work done from, let's say, US itself,
Yeah,
and that's.
that's what actually Trump and
Mm.
others want to happen, right?
Yeah.
That's what they want, to increase the employability in US, where the US people get more opportunities, and eventually, kind of like you said, the world order changes. But I guess the in medium term, I think Indian IT industry will survive. Though short term, you might see some shocks here and there, and there are the shocks of the tariff declaration, even though it's not significantly impacting the IT industry in India, but it has already started to impact the stock price of companies like
Yeah.
Accenture and all those stuff, right? Accenture
Across right now,
across, yeah,
15%.
Yeah, because even a company as big as Accenture, even though they are seeing growth, the stock price are coming down because of the uncertainty. Right, whenever there's uncertainty in what's going to happen the next financial year, will government contracts, because government IT spend is huge, right? US federal spend on IT is very huge. It does outsource to a lot of companies, and when there is uncertainty in that, obviously the markets tend to react, and the
But
stock
these are
prices
all
actually
going to
show
be
that.
very short term.
Yeah, I think it's going to be short term. In the medium term, I think Indian IT industry is going to survive. We have been resilient, but I think the real problem for Indian IT is not exactly coming from
Yeah.
the tariffs.
So then that's the second topic we are entering into. First
Exactly.
topic
Yeah.
we ticked, and then that's really not a problem as such, because again, India will survive that. But then coming to the second topic, which is a giant among this, which is AI, I guess that's what you're pointing to, right?
Exactly. Yeah.